Can we get started now?
Yes.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm told by Siva that today is a special day for the Baha'i faith, and therefore the numbers are a little bit less, but it's really nice to see everyone on the call, on the Zoom. I have to apologize because I haven't been a real regular on this. I have another thing that clashes with it sometimes, but I'm sure we'll get a lot out of the talk today. And I'd ask Siva to start by honoring the indigenous people and land. Siva, could you do that, please?
Yes. Acknowledging and honoring indigenous land and people. We acknowledge and pay respect to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and the elders of this nation we call Australia, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander tribes were the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent. The Gadigal of the Eora Nation are the traditional custodians of the place we call Sydney, and Wangal people are traditional owners of Burwood, where I live.
Two chants.
Hear my cry, O God, attend to my prayer. From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Hear my cry, O God, attend to my prayer. From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a shelter for me, a strong tower from the enemy. I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings. Hear my cry, O God, attend to my prayer. From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you have been a shelter for me, a strong tower from the enemy. I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings. For been a shelter for me, a strong tower from the enemy. I will abide in your tabernacle forever. I will trust in the shelter of your wings. Hear my cry, O God, attend to my prayer. From the end of the earth I will cry to you. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Thy mercy to me is my healing and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-wise.
So We'll get over to the readings now.
But if one deals with objects of the sense, not loving and not hating, making them serve his free soul, which rests serenely, lo, such a man comes to tranquility. And out of that tranquility shall rise the end and healing of his earthly pains. Since the will govern sets the soul at peace in the scripture.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases, who redeemeth thy life from destruction, who crowneth thee with loving kindness and tender mercies, who satisfieth thy mouth with good things, so that thy youth is renewed like the eagles. The Lord executeth righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed. Jewish scripture.
Hunger is the supreme disease. Mental activity is the supreme suffering. When one has grasped this as it really is, nirvana is the supreme happiness. Health is the supreme possession. Contentment is the supreme wealth. A trustworthy friend is the supreme relation. Nirvana is the supreme happiness. After enjoying the taste of solitude and the taste of peace, one is freed from distress and evil as one enjoys the taste of spiritual joy. That is Buddhist scripture.
And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching them in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manners of sickness and all manners of disease among the people. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into the mountain, and when he was set, his disciples came up unto him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Christian scripture, the gospel according to Matthew.
I think this was allocated to Yin. Perhaps, Zora, do you think you could read this one?
Yes. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, the Lord of the worlds, who hath created me and guideth me, who giveth me food and drink, and when I am sick, he healed me, and who will cause me to die and again quicken me, and who I hope will forgive me my sins in the day of reckoning. My Lord, bestow on me wisdom and join me to the just, and give me a good name among posterity, and make me one of the heirs of the garden of delight. And forgive my father, for he was one of the erring, and put me not to shame on the day when mankind shall be raised up, the day when neither wealth nor children shall avail, save to him who shall come to God with a sound heart, when paradise shall be brought near the poise, and hell shall lay upon for those who have gone astray. And it shall be said to them, where are they whom ye worship beside God? Can they harm you or help themselves? The Holy Quran.
O befriended stranger, the candle of thine heart is lighted by the hand of my power. Quench it not with the contrary winds of self and passion. The healer of all thine ills is remembrance of me. Forget it not. Make my love thy treasure and cherish it, even as thy very sight and life. Baha'i Scriptures, the Hidden Words by Baha'u'llah.
Resort, in times of sickness to competent physicians. We have not set aside the use of material means, rather have we confirmed it through this pen, which God hath made to be the dawning place of his shining and glorious case. Well, is it with the physician who cureth? I'm not native English speaker. Could you help me, please? Cureth the ailments in my hallowed and dearly cherished name. Baha'u'llah, the Kitab I Adgas 6. Sorry for my pronunciation,
So we now have the closing chant.
Is there any remover of difficulties? Save God, say praised be God. He is God, all are his servants, and all abide by his bidding. Is there any remover of difficulties? Save God, say praise be above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things. Nothing in the heavens sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things. Nothing in the heavens sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things. Nothing in the God sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things. Is there any remover sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things. Is there any remover sufficeth all things, above all things see God, sufficeth all things, above all things.
So our speaker today is Katrina Sita. I hope I pronounced the name right.
Yeah.
Katrina, I have a Polish friend with a similar name, so I hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly as well. Anyway, Katrina's field is very interesting, and her background is varied. So I'll just read a little bit of it for everybody. Katrina recently works at Urban Healers as an energy healer, past life regressionist, trapped emotions releaser, shamanic healing, and tarot reader. By education and work experience, she is a master of engineering science, but at her core, she is a mathematician, philosopher, an author, a cook, and healer. After retiring from engineering, she broadly studied many branches of religious studies, psychologies, philosophies, anthropology, sociology, astronomy, IT, ancient history, and others, mostly at CC University of Sydney. Recently, she works as a healer and finishing her third book, which is the first in English. I'm very impressed by the switch from Master of Engineering, coming from, I guess, a similar switching situation. I'm really looking forward to your talk, Katrina.
You know, my switching, you know, it is everybody, oh, how did you switch, you know, from engineering to being healer? And, you know, I always explain, you know, that I just only jump, you know, from third dimension to fifth dimension.
Right.
Because, you know, I was, for example, I work in...
Excuse me, do you have a light? Your face is not very clear. Earlier you had the light, I mean, we started.
Better?
Oh, that's better. And also, can I also introduce new visitors for our meeting? Usha,
Oh, yes.
Arian, and Mark Iseli. You're welcome. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So I explained, you know, that you know, my engineering, you know, and I think the science which were in use were based on three-dimensional Newtonian physics. And, you know, I have been a lecturer in thermodynamics, thermofluids, which was about, you know, energy exchange. And now I do the same, but, you know, in another dimension. I do it on quantum physics level, where, you know, I manipulate, you know, with a very small amount of energy, you know, doing. So I always joking, you know, I have academic background, you know, in my healing, you know, just, you know, to jump to another dimension, you know, with it. What I would like to talk about, you know, it is, I would like to tell what is religion, you know, because we have very different religion, which if we dig very deeply in core and in origin, and it is the same religion, and it is absolutely, you know, the same rules. And like in our prayer was, you know, that we believe in many different kind of mystical. I think it is very similar to what spirituality is, because in spirituality, and I think, you know, I don't know, I can't say that I belong to or represent any religion, but I do believe in anything, you know. It could be God, it could be universe, it could be life forces, or cosmic energy, or whatever you call it, but there is a force or something, you know, which works with us, you know, which governs us, and you know, depending on, I think, religion, it could be in us, outside us, everywhere, you know, it could be a rock, you know. So it is, I think, monotheistic religions, you know, define, you know, God, you know, as something, you know, outer, you know, something which is not connected. It is something above us. When Buddhism, for example, consider that it is something inside us, and some religions, you know, like pantheism, consider nature as religion, or panentheism, consider nature plus something else. And so I think, you know, there is, the spirituality gives you big choice. Everything is okay, you know. There is the teachings of Jesus, teachings of Buddha, teachings of Muhammad. Actually, I like some statements from each religion. I like from Islam the part that there is no picture of God, you know, because I think it is impossible, you know, to present, you know, the God as picture, you know, so they have not. And we know, you know, that Buddha, that Jesus, Jesus was not Christian. Buddha was not Buddhist. You know? They were spiritual teachers, and they were sort of rebels, you know, or we can say revolutionists, which found, the sort of errors in previous system, like Jesus was Jewish, he was Hebrew, he was, his religion was Hebrew, but he established new. He couldn't agree with hierarchy, in Hebrew, and he became spiritual teacher who was it is the name for Jesus is quite often described as radical egalitarian. Jesus did not recognize hierarchy, which most religion recognized. It was the same with Buddha. Buddha did not recognize hierarchy. They had no temples. For Jesus, temple was everything around. And it was the same for Buddha. So, religions like Christianity, Jesus, of course, was not able to predict, what will happen, that he will be, the founder of very big fight. But it started, to make structure, there is like, we have Pope, in Roman Catholic religion on the top, and in other religion as well, we have someone on the top who, so there is no sort of equality. And I think, this one is against Jesus' teachings, because, he was, like I mentioned, he was radical egalitarian, and he didn't build hierarchy. He considered themselves as equal. He considered themselves unique. He considered everybody unique, but no one higher or lower. So, and it was the same with Buddhism. So, the spirituality compared to religions, like religion is shown, the hierarchy is, the sign for hierarchy is triangle. And triangle is sign for intellect, for thinking. When spirituality is represented by a circle, that everybody there is in circle, there is no one on the top and no one at the bottom. There is circle, and everybody learn from everybody. So I think, that it was on mind, of Jesus and in Buddha, that sort of fight, and religion. And, we, during Jesus' time, during Buddha time, during Muhammad time, there was a lot of spiritual teachers. They were just wandering around. We have a lot of spiritual teachers, like, for example, contemporary spiritual teacher is Edgar Tolle, but he's on YouTube. He doesn't use, donkey, to go from one town to another. And so simply, Jesus and Buddha was exceptional spiritual teachers, which had made incredible big impact. And the spiritual teachers, for what we had and we have spiritual teachers, simply to help us to live happy life. And the word religion was not used as for spiritual teachers. For example, please correct me, because you know probably better. But what I know, in Hindu, the word religion is more closer to the word law, the law. And what I know, maybe please correct me if I am wrong, that there was, the different law for each caste as well. It was different law for each sex, for each gender, for male and for female. In Taoism and in, I think, Buddhism, the word religion was more similar to word the way how we should behave, how we should live life to avoid suffering and problems. And what all religion and spirituality has in common? It is golden rule. The rule, that we shouldn't do to others what we wouldn't like to be done for us. And golden rule contains absolutely everything. All possible laws, and which were later on derived from golden rule, like in Christianity and Judaism, there was 10 commandments. It was simply golden rule in more given in more specific way for people to understand it, because it is we think that it is so easy to understand, don't do to others what is not nice for ourselves, but it is quite abstract and complicated expression, because it needs a little bit of imagination, a little bit more deeper reflection, like for example, Islamic refugee in United States. Many people think that is something horrible and they shouldn't come to United States, simply because they are not able to imagine themselves being in the same situation. It is beyond their imagination. Yeah, to have no home, and yes, no place to go. So the golden rule. I still have time?
I don't understand. I am.
Do I have time?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is golden rule and this on the golden rule was based on law is based on golden rule. It was more and more specific this description of conduct, and golden rule is common to all religions. There is in any religion, the different words could be used But this meaning is in absolutely every religion. I had, 20 years ago, I studied, at Sydney Uni, religion with Julian Drugan. He gave us, the piece of paper, with the words, from each religion, how it was expressed. And what it is usually prayer is very common expression for connection with God in any religion. When in spirituality, we use more word meditation, it is exchangeable with prayer, and the difference between meditation and prayer is that, when we meditate, we listen to the God. If we pray, we talk to the God. It is this small difference. And there's very often people consider that spirituality is new age, there are witches, it is something, a little bit cheating, a little bit and I think like in every field we have mainstream trend and sort of higher trend, like we have alternative or classical music and mainstream music. We have books, which are considered, more sophisticated than mainstream books. And it is the same with New Age. Do I have still time?
I think so, but we've got question time also.
Yeah.
Should we?
Yeah, we can have, you can have another, until 8 o'clock, maybe another 8 minutes.
8 minutes more?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we have, as I say, there is mainstream New Age, and it is based, on quite sophisticated, the teachings, philosophy, because like every religion, we have easy, interpretation, and we have more sophisticated. In Jesus, it is said that Jesus taught, on 3 different levels, that, very easy way for people, who were not I don't know, had less, capacity, in understanding things. And the second level was higher teaching, and the highest level, he had only 12 disciples, and there was Mary Magdalene, a woman which was his some say the new research will tell the most intelligent student, disciple, that she had really big capacity. There's a lot of, it is another story about Mary Magdalene, because it was really distorted for many years. She was presented as a prostitute, which was, because, there was research done, and I think the Vatican officially, took this blame from her, I think in 70s, but it was never ever, widely advertised, so many people don't know about it. I think, it is when I was studying religions, we had people of different faiths, and my lecturer, Julian Rugan, he always asked for confirmation when he was talking about some religions. He always asked for confirmation if he is right. And what we find out that we don't know too much about our own religions, that studying religions as in comprehensive way, we learn the most interesting things. And I grew up, I was born in Poland. It is, of course, I grew up as a Roman Catholic, and I had no idea about many things, about Christianity until I study, the religion, comprehensive religions at Sydney Uni. And I would like, because I'm not fully, I'm not shaman, because, the shamanic courses are 3 years. I have no time for it, but I have quite good shamanic training, and I think, it is considering to be the most old approach, to spiritual things, to understanding nature, to communicate with plants, to communicate with animals, to communicate with spirits, to experience, shamanic journey, which, and it is not, it is not issue of drugs, it is issue of, traveling somewhere to other worlds by natural methods like drumming, like trance, like dancing, like, so it is a very interesting experience of supernatural worlds and other lives, and yeah. So I think I'm ready for questions. Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hello, any question?
Jung, anyone who wants to ask questions, please use your reaction button or raise your hand if we can see you.
And I don't afraid critics, if you don't like something, please say it openly, and absolutely, if you hate it, just tell me, I'm very, I would, yeah, I have, yeah, I can cope with and try to answer and explain any things which you have against what I said, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Perry and Siva.
Thank you.
It's very interesting to hear your points of view. When I see and read the spirituality and and meditation associated with it, when we talk about it, it means we talk about related matters, just like evil spirit, Holy Spirit, wicked spirit. As you know, in a Saint Michael Archangel, he's the king of heaven and he worked for God. And so therefore, when we talk about spirituality, we need to be careful who we are associated with, whether that a Holy Spirit or that a wicked spirit. The wicked spirit will wandering around the earth and cause trouble. And if the healer, just say people have shamans healing training, where they heal the wicked spirit, because if they heal them, they only cause more trouble for the earth. So, and talk about religion, the religion just like, like an institution, like an umbrella, like a parent's body. Because when, talk about two different things, when people die, if they follow religion or they follow spirituality, where they end up in heaven at the same spot, because then one person go to heaven and say, I want to see the God of water, because he follows spirituality. And then the God will say, we have no God of water here. So then the person will ask, so who am I supposed to see? I want to see God. Then the God will say, the God is the Almighty God. So the Almighty God will be, like you say, the most above the highest, the Almighty. And all the God, like God of the sun, God of the moon, God of the water, it depends on different countries. If they follow Buddhism, they might think about all these gods. So it should not be mixed up.
I think in like Archangel Michael, spirituality, they recognize Archangel Michael, and we recognize any spiritual being. And I think, we have concept of high and highest and lower vibrations. We consider that bad entities have low vibration, and we consider that like angels, and good entities vibrate with frequency of love, of bliss, of fulfillment. And the people who reach high vibrational state are totally resistant from attack from low vibrational entities. And like I said, yes, I agree that the God in monotheistic religions is something which is separate from us, when spirituality recognize that we all are part of God, and that God is everywhere, that it is absolutely everywhere, it is so it is and I don't think the shamanic healing is there is very good book, the life of Galilean shaman, the Jesus, these miracles are beautifully explained in this book, you know, and I personally, I didn't find anything low vibrational in my shamanic training. Yeah. It would do. It is answer your question, or is something you would like to discuss more deeper?
I think, yeah, and in one of your experience, you talk about past life regressionist job. For me, you should be better off working with FBI or police. You know why? Because when somebody got hypnotized, and then the regressionist will ask questions. Because I believe, you know, you see the documents, the movie documents, and you know it. And then that person, even been hypnotized, will have to answer all the questions in a sort of subconscious and under chemical influence. So I don't know how FBI and police can rely on the information that they provided, especially if they're involved in the army or defense force. You know, like all the new arrival, they come from overseas country and they were in the army. What have they done in the past? Who knows? So therefore, that sort of job is like scanning. You're scanning somebody's past. That the past, if they want to come here for peace, they want to have change their life, follow God, and then we just pull them back to the past that they don't want to be involved. So why we do that? We should do forgive and forget unless they're criminal. So that's why if you read some documents or you see some movies that make from Hollywood or America, then you understood what I said. It's all psychology, you see, and healing and scanning, more like a FBI job for me, a police job.
You know, it is. I do agree. You know that intelligence services, they do employ people psyche. You know, they do, because yeah, Russia, I know, and America, I know, they do employ. But you know, the target of past life regression, and we do believe, you know, in reincarnation, that soul is eternal, but the soul is coming, you know, to the earth many times, you know, and every life is to learn something, you know, to experience something. And our bad deeds in, you know, it is quite difficult question, complex question, because according to Carl Jung, who was, you know, the Austrian psychiatrist and psychologist, he divided, you know, our thoughts are, you know, from our collective consciousness. Like, you know, we have like we dream, you know, we can dream about things who are from mythology, and we never ever read anything about, you know, the Greek mythology, but we dream about it, because this Greek mythology is something which we herited from common, you know, consciousness. You know, it is something we are born, you know, it is in our DNA, in our imprint, this. And we have subconscious, you know, which we are ruled by subconscious. And we have conscious. And very often, you know, our subconscious will, it is saying, you know, that we behave that 95% of our behavior is caused by things we have in subconscious. And, if somebody, is suffering, from chronic depression or have, the recurring, dreams, there is something which could be caused by something, in subconscious, yeah, which, during past life regression could be removed, putting to surface. It is a theory that if we take, things which bother us from subconscious and we made it conscious, it will never ever bother us again. And, if I am not sure, I did, it is incredibly interesting job, because, when my client is coming, I have no idea, in which century, in which part of the world I will go with my client, there's endless, possibilities. And I'm not sure, because, in my practice, I have my clients who are healers, who are highly spiritual, wake up, in hypnosis as highly, like, the one lady, and as Mary Magdalene, and another Hindu, my Hindu friend who is healer, like Gotrama. And I am not sure if it was the past life, or there is somehow they connect, to our collective common consciousness and got information from that. And no, FBI, actually, I tell you something that I have sometimes, problems, because, it is the things, I acknowledge, are maybe a little bit, not always, right. It is like, in during the, there is things which were not fully legal, maybe, so, it is one of a very difficult part of my job, to find out about it. And yeah, I think, it is, I love it, to do it. And it is such a relief for my clients to, and it is so accurate, the first past life regression always address what really bother us, what make us feel uneasy, what is the problem, subconscious problem, which cause, our recurring behaviors, which lead, to maybe not to lead to happenings which we don't want to happen. So it is, yes. And it is as well, it is for me, it is information how to, I can remove and rewrite, because, our subconscious is, we can trick our subconscious, because our subconscious doesn't know time. And so it is, we can just, under hypnosis, erase some things, and under hypnosis, we can, of these bad things, put new good things, which, makes, it is the people who went through traumas, it could be, could be easy release, like, some, and it is incredible, like people, remember things, like there is some, like, somebody was 3 years old, and the father, get mad, because, that somebody was not able to go on time to toilet, so it is, and, it was somebody was child, and couldn't understand crime, okay. So it is, it is big relief, and it is, yeah, yeah. It is fascinating, stimulating, and on top of it, it heal other people, so yeah. I would say that way. Mhm. Yes.
May I ask a question?
Yeah. Mhm.
What type of healing practices do you use? Because I'm very much into energy healing, and past life regression is part of the process that I practice as well.
Mhm.
And I'm a big follower of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, and he is
Yeah,
very,
my
you know,
yeah, very well known to me. Yeah.
yes, he's amazing. My daughter has just come back from doing his week-long retreat in Dallas, and she said it's the best thing she did for her health as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, so I would love to know what type of modalities you use in your practice.
I did, Reiki healing course, in all courses, to master level with a friend, Stina. He was, he is international Reiki teacher,
Yes.
Yeah. And it is what I remember that after a course I asked him a question, and he answered me. I would go and practice, and I think that I learn my skills not from books, or it is all it is as well. I had no doubts, that when I have client, and sometimes I talk to client, and I don't know, I have no idea what to do. I said, my God, I will never ever solve this puzzle. And simply I ask my guides, for help.
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't say, I can't take credit for what I'm doing. I just, I'm,
Channeling.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
And I think you might be interested in reading the work of Dr. Brian Weiss and Anita Murjani, who had a near-death experience. I think that will explain a little bit of what past life regression actually is.
Mhm.
I think for your benefit. It's very powerful, I think.
Yeah. I think that, like, I know other healers who do energy healing on me, and I never ask them about their secrets. I think that we have all our understanding,
yes,
our way of, like when I'm doing Reiki, for example, I have always, I am, with my client in one aura.
Mm-hmm.
So I have they problems, when I see something, they always appear the pictures, visions in my head, and which are very, very accurate, pretty, and yeah, it is how I work, and I am not on a, of course I read a little bit, but I am not less about, I try, I don't know, I have connect
Connection.
knowledge is, from within me, and not of course from books as well, and I do, the as well, the book which I write now is, I think, the most of the book is just
Channeled.
yeah.
Great. Do you have a website?
Yeah. I have, I am changing website because it is website which was done 3 years ago when I was beginner. So, like my reviews are very, very basic, because it was when I was starting, to do, yeah. I think it is, I'm blessed, to have such a beautiful job, and I'm, very happy, and fascinated by it, and yeah.
I think I have put my hand up, and also Zore is next. And if anyone else want to say something, please use your reaction button or raise your hand. So can I say something now? Thank you, Katerina, for you volunteered to speak. I mean, we were in touch through the next door, and but you volunteered to speak on this forum, and I really thank you for that. And your topic was, and the topic was about religion and spirituality. I really liked the analogy that you gave. Religion is like a hierarchy, and it's like a triangle, and spirituality is like a circle.
And and I there are symbols, like triangle is for intellect, is symbol of intellect. Circle is symbol of
unity,
spirituality. And the rectangle on square is symbol of matter. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the difference that you see in religion and spirituality is that the hierarchy or the organizational aspect of religion is the one that is making it different from spirituality.
Yeah, because in spirituality, there's no interaction. That there is teacher and the students are, the teacher is in front of students. That we sit in the circle, and we all, the idea is, and it is the idea, of master, Zen master or Buddhist master, that master is not teacher, that he's among people, and it is exchange of information between people, master, learn from, and it is, that we can learn absolutely from every body and everything, like from trees, we can.
But I think you mentioned there are spiritual teachers, and you gave an example of Eckhart Tolle, and then you also mentioned there are some exceptional spiritual teachers like Buddha, Jesus, and
I consider Edgar Tolle absolutely great spiritual teacher who, he didn't invent anything new. He just adapt, all old teachings to our 21st century reality. And to our 21st century level of perception. Yeah.
And you also mentioned that what is common between the religion and spirituality is the golden rule.
Yeah.
So it actually resonates with what Baha'u'llah said, that all the religions from these manifestations of God, they have two kinds of teachings. One is spiritual teaching and the other is social teachings.
Yeah.
The spiritual teachings are the probably the golden rules that we should not tell lie, we should not kill, all the moral values. And there is a super power, why we call it God or whatever it is, and we have a soul that is immortal. These are the spiritual teaching that is eternal, and they don't change from religion to religion, but their social teachings are about how we should run our family, government, how it should be run, how should be a community, or how to pray, how to fast, what to dress, all these things, or how to punish a crime.
It
These
is
are
like
social teachings.
mentioned that it is in, like for example, in Hinduism, it is not religion. It is called more law, the law, not, it is rules, which are, simply, it is, the religion was something to help people to live properly. Yeah. And the golden rule was divided into more descriptive parts to help people better understand how to behave.
Thank you. And I may have a question later on, but now I think Zoe is waiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is Christella, is that okay, Christella?
Of
Shall I
course, yes,
ask
go
the
ahead,
question?
sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Katrina. For me, it was very, a few things are very new, but I would like to ask you if you could say a few more words about shaman, because I don't know, have much information about them. Is that a religion or is that a spiritual? Is that like an olden, like, the ancient way of religion or spirituality?
Shamans were, in world, there was points, few, let me see, put in time. For example, take, 600 BC, where Iron Age started. There were few civilizations around, towns, they did in China, the Middle East, and there was a lot of people on the earth living in basic, like tribes, like clans. Yeah. And there was no doctors. Shaman was like elder at Aborigines. Our Aborigines people, I had incredible luck, to meet, and discuss Aborigines, healing methods with elder, from Lismore, beautiful lady who it was really, really something wonderful for me and big privilege to exchange, our skills and information. And so, the shaman was selected, by, usually, it is something, it is another thing, to study. My lecturer in Jungian psychology, he wrote a book, Shamans and Analysts. There is a theory that shamans and analysts are people who are there are wounded healers. And there's a theory that that healer, it is Jungian psychology as well, has to be, the hurt, go through traumas to understand problems of the client. So the psychologists, who grow up, in the very privileged conditions, is, according to this theory, is not able to help person who went, through traumas the psychologist, didn't experience. So shamans were people who were sort of going through pre-initial illness. It is illness which gives them sort of hallucination, or like we call now psychosis, and they were selected to do shamanic work because they were considered to be very, very special. So they were trained by another elders of the tribe to become healers, shamans, and like elder, the person who knows, better, and who is able to give advice. They were able to communicate with words of spirits. They could talk to spirits, and they could learn, they could ask questions which can use, for their work. Yeah, had help, from above. So it was shamans, and it is, I experienced my first shamanic journey. It was, I went just for meetup to Kensington. I sit, and usually it is possible, and in some circumstances we can experience, shamanic journey. But in my case, it was absolutely first time, and I went immediately. And it was for me, absolutely shocking, the things, I could see, could find out, which I would never ever knew about it. Yeah, without going somewhere else. Yeah, so it is how it works, and I did a really, I did shamanic workshops and study with the Foundation of Shamanic Studies, founded by Dr. Hanner from California. And Dr. Hanner was academic. He wasn't, shaman. He was academic. And my shaman, who was a real shaman and who were initiated and trained by flying shamans from Mongolia, he was, he was, I think he had, 4 degrees, so it is not, that there are people, who are, they're a little bit, yeah, they like, they can perform, jobs and other things, easily, yeah.
Thank you very much.
But and do you understand what I said, or you would like to clarify?
Yes, but I just wanted to ask whether there's still lots of shamanic, like they are practicing. Is that the practice these days? Is still
No,
people go to them and people ask for the help? Like,
yes, some people ask me for shamanic help, but I simply, it is, I do only with really most advanced clients. I take them, because it is two things, which I can do. I tell them how to go in for shamanic journey, and I go with them. So it is, I'm in my healing room. My computer is, the massage table. So the client is on massage table, and I am, my coach. And I will go to find, to answer for her or his question. But if she or he is really advanced spiritually, we create, the high enough vibration to go, in this journey together. So sometimes, it is, if it is, not everybody go for first time. I was lucky to go for first time. But, my shaman from Sydney, he said that it took him, 6-7 attempts, to go. And my shaman, from California, he lives in Japan now. He didn't go, it was as well, the process of many, the attempt, before he started. And it is, and the people go, there, I don't know, there is, in the workshops, there was, they were, doctors, there were psychiatrists, there were PhDs in science, there were psychoanalysts, there were psychologists, people from any path. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So, someone else, or
Siva, you said you might have another question?
Yeah. Yeah.
You are mute. You are muted. You have to unmute.
If there are any new people to ask any question, then I have another question to ask. Is there anyone else? Okay, can I ask a question then, Christella?
Yes, of course.
I think Christella wanted to ask one question.
No, I'm fine. I understand what you're saying. I just would love to find out about the shamanic journeys, but that's fine.
Well,
That'll take too long.
My question is about that too. You mentioned that you had interaction with the indigenous people who had similar practices, or what I believe is that the power from the Supreme and the power that is within us, they can be channeled, and that can be used for sending positive energy around us.
Definitely.
Yes. In that sense, I feel, though we use these different terms, whether it is Reiki or pranic healing or shaman or whatever it is, that we are drawing the power, the energy from the Supreme Body, and then we use that for the benefit of the others who are in need. My question is, what is the experience or the information that you gathered from the indigenous people? What sort of practices they were doing, and how did they develop this? Because you had some teachers. Who was their teachers?
No, it is, I had my teacher who triggers my, things in me which I know, because we know everything, we just know everything. And it is, I have to admit that I am incredibly angry on the way Aborigines people are treated, in Australia. And they had access, the Aborigines people had easy access, to their subconscious, their dreaming time, was, to communicate with other, realities. And they had totally different approach what was around them. The trees, the grass, the sky. It was something which they felt, which they could communicate with, which was part of them. And, why the damage, white people did to them is they humiliated them to that level that they lost ability to go to this dreaming state without, sniffing petrol or drinking. It is the biggest tragedy, because they couldn't, without any drugs or whatever, or stimulant, which they use now. And it is, and I am incredibly angry, that people, they are like, I'm just, there is, in college work, next weekend, meeting, and they like Aborigines cafe, they or Aborigines theater, the dance, is really good, but it is, it is not, speciality, of Aborigines, to make egg Benedicts or, hamburgers, I don't think it is their strong point, I think, they have such a big knowledge and ability and information that that white people lost long time ago. And good news is that it is possible to retrieve it, because if they are given good condition, if they are given respect, if they are given recognition, they can come back, to the depth of their beings and retrieve, the ability they lost.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was very enlightening, and I'm very happy to hear that you recognize the knowledge and the spirituality and the capacity of the indigenous people and how they were treated. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I do. I think the wisdom they have, is and I don't know. I don't want have big. Don't want to spread their sort, but it is very possible that we will depend very much on them, and very soon.
Thank
You Katrina, way past your bedtime.
you.
Yeah, it is much, past my bedtime. But I am intellectually stimulated. I enjoy being with you, and enjoy, the questions are really stimulating. Yeah. So, any more questions? Yeah. Yeah.
I won't be long. Madam Sita, I won't be long. I just want to wrap up the talk tonight. I want to mention about the hippies. The group of people called hippies in 1960.
Yeah.
That according to the TV documents, we see a lot of them went to live in the forest or jungle or wherever, and they don't wear clothes, and they have a life of freedom, and obviously just demonstrate that they love spirituality because they just like fresh air, freedom, no time with anyone, like government outside the groups. And they're not religious. I don't know how many of them are religious people. But it's just the way you talk, it just give me the image of that sort of group of people. And the follow nature is nothing wrong with it. I mean, everybody should have their dream, follow nature, everything. But their community, with our community, the one who really, I don't know if they do any work. I don't know if they do any, like productive, like labor productive, because according to religion and spirituality, a person needs to be helpful, had to be able to sustain themselves, to do good work and services, and plus devotion to God, obviously, meditation, prayer, and everything. Help one another, help your neighbor, and very important, as you say, sacrifice, and do all the obedience to God. And had to be obedient. If you don't obedient, if people don't follow obedient to the government, don't follow authority, follow nothing, how are they gonna follow God? How are they gonna be obedient to God? And so they go against the commandments. So therefore they'll go against hierarchy. As you've been mentioned about hierarchy, who is the boss? Who is the Almighty? Who do the service? Who do devotion? That's all requirements for people to go to heaven. So because I don't know much about that 1960 hippies people, I'm happy for them because they're just like angels. For me, they are a group of angels. They have no bow with the earth. But will that be okay with the perspective of nowadays style of living?
You said the first things, I would address, what you said, because they're very complex question. But the first thing you said, about, the hierarchy and obeying government. I think it is the two people said the same thing, Gandhi and Einstein, that we should have our own judgment if we should obey government. Because, for example, people obey Hitler. And it led to tragedy. So we should always think if what government is saying is true, is good for us, or is not good for us. For example, I did not obey government during pandemic because I thought, that if I think, that immune system depends on well-being, that stress causes sickness. It is what I believe. And I believed that if I will be locked in my home without walking with on the sun and enjoying weather, I will be sick. It is like now people, the number of death is increasing, rapidly, because, above statistics, about average, because, people for 2 years were stressed in the way that it cause, the problems they have health. So, I, instead of staying at home and being locked, and be stressed by it, I spent, our pandemic in Centennial Park, because I thought that, my stress from being arrested is smaller than stress of staying at home. So, I think there is many examples of governments who were horrible, who were despotic, who were just corrupted, and they were governments which we shouldn't obey. Yeah, it is what Gandhi said, that if we see something wrong and we allowed it to happen, it is the biggest, it is worse than bad behavior if we don't react to things which are wrong. And it was the same, the Einstein, this one of the things, that it is the being passive and accepting things which we deeply feel are wrong is worse than being bad person. So it is the one question. And the hippie, there is a lot of aspects, of hippie behavior, and I think, that we shouldn't, we should know how no one is bad, from the inside, it is like tribe people, if something, someone did something wrong, something horrible, they put him in the middle of the settlement or village, and they, stand around him or her, and were telling, for a long time, they were quoting all good things, he or she did before to heal him, or her, to remind him his real nature. And it was like that. And yeah, so, and the hippie were living, in, of course, the later on maybe it was distorted as well, but they were living in communities and they were self-sufficient. There is as well in the United States sort of, I don't remember, quirk, or I don't remember, the people who live in community, who produce own food without, any additions, fertilizers and natural, and they produce furniture, they are independent, and I think that maybe new era will be the same, that we will live in communities, that we will exchange. Like, for example, I have very flexible prices for my things, for my healing, and I exchange I swap skills. If someone has no money to pay, I ask, for domestic help, which is, sort of mindful. I always ask people, to do mindful, do it mindfully, which leads, to reaching, the extreme peace. And I treat it as a part of healing as well. And I don't like clean, so everybody are happy. And as well, I use, like for renovation, my home renovation, workawayers, the people who are traveling around the world. And there is, website, the deal is, that they work 20 hours per week for me, and I feed them and give them, accommodation. So, for peanuts, they have new experience, they see the world, we exchange, information, and I did always them healing, introduction, and I have, the home
I'm
painting.
not sure I understand.
Siri, shut up. And so no, it is exchange, it is not non-monetary services, and I do a lot of things like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tracy, I see you have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, I wanted to really thank you for putting attention to Australian Aboriginal people. Jung really was said that they were the people in the whole world that put the most attention on cultivating unconscious awareness, the collective unconscious, and, to really have been providing incredible service to all humanity with their ceremonies for thousands, tens of thousands of years. And there are some places and some people still doing that. And I appreciate your anger that they have been treated so badly and being given such disrespect. But my question or wonder is, what can we do to enable that wisdom to be able to come through modern Australia once again? How can we, in the rest of society, actually enable that to be revived, restored, the oppression taken off so it can reshine?
Firstly, I would like, to not to distort, the truth about, I probably everybody have seen the movie 12 Canoes.
Yeah.
And, it is, oh, what a great movie about Aborigines. This movie made me furious, Firstly, when I saw the title, 12 was not in Aborigines vocabulary. Aborigines had number 1, 2, some tribes 3, and many. So it is there was no concept of number 12 in Aborigines culture. So it was, and later on, to try to prove, that their culture and Western culture is equal, I think is incredible big insult for Aborigines culture, because it is not. It was said that in these movies state that they had the same law. It is the most horrible things, and not untrue things, because like for example, Aborigines had no concept of ownership, and it is this lack of concept of ownership led to many situations in which they were killed, because, for example, they see the car, oh, so they jump, they wanted to, because it was, like, yeah, they had no concept of ownership, which is incredibly, artificial concept, and which Western culture, develop, to crazy, it is like even, the Asian culture, have totally different concept of ownership, like the sharing between family, the supporting people, and but the Western mind, and no one can touch. So it is the one thing, and simply, I think Aborigines were the best greenies ever. And I would say, that their philosophy and their law, we can put in one sentence, like, golden rule was, one sentence, law for all, everything. So their philosophy and their law was, to leave this earth, to be born here to this earth and leave this earth without making any change. And I think, that like this bushfire, for me it was totally, out of mind, that this gentleman, in this beautiful suit, the Giorgio Armani suit, where buying a helicopter, to cope, with this horrible things, it was, I think, 2019, this horrible bush, when, for Aborigines, it was easy work, they could manage, they were practicing, the making fire, and the special time of the year, and they knew wind, they could predict, how it will spread. It was, calculated, that animals will, had time, to leave the space, and what was, people don't understand, particularly, like I am from Poland, it is, that it is Australia, that it is the animals, that are, all animals, native are, they have this, like, they differently, my cat, and that it is different, that bushfire is like, like spring, like autumn, or in winter, on northern hemisphere, the bushfire is to burn, everything, to make new life, new plants, to grow. And if there is no bushfire, the animals are starved. It has to be every some period bushfire to enable, to new plants to grow. The animals can eat it. So I think, that buying a helicopter, on 2 helicopters, it is not, but, they know the best, they are wearing, Giorgio Armani suits, so, they, yeah. So it is, I like I talk, to my Aborigines friend, she said that now, the Aborigines are allowed, they allowed them to help, with bushfire management.
Okay, thank you so much. If someone who hasn't already asked a question has a burning question, maybe we can have one more question before we wrap up. But if there are no more questions, maybe we'll.
Yes, thank you.
Just say thank you.
Thank you, Katrina and Christella, for emceeing. God bless you all, and we will see you next.
Thank you, Christella, after a long time.
Yes, I know I've been a bit truant, but
Thank you, Sita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Katrina.
much.
It was
Thank
great
you.
to meet you and
God bless.
we'll see you
Do you
again.
want to tell us what your website is before we knock off?
It is www.urbanhealers.
Urban Healers.
.com.au.
Okay. Thank
It's a
you.
very old website.
Thank you.
There will be new website, because it will have name, of my book,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think you better get some sleep before you have to get up early.
Sorry?
I think you had better get a good night's rest as much as you can because you have to get up so early again. Thank you very much. It was
Okay.
very
Thank
interesting.
you, Sita. Good night.